buddy?
Pretty good here on a good Wednesday. Got a lot of things going on here, Shawn. So let's just jump right into it.
Well, we're at number 26, episode
Yep.
number 26, and I think today we're going to discuss some of the things that we found in the budget that are kind of disturbing. I know they're disturbing to me. I know they were
Very
disturbing,
troubling. Yep.
Yeah, disturbing to you, and some of the people I shared with before the podcast were pretty upset with it as well. But hey, Timmy, before we jump into the podcast, I just want to tell everybody that there's an easy way to subscribe to our channel. All you have to do is jump over to our YouTube channel while you're watching the show, hit subscribe, hit the little bell. That way, when our new episode is uploaded onto YouTube, you'll get a little alert and you won't have to track us down to find the next podcast. So it's really simple. YouTube, hit the bell, jump in, and enjoy the show.
Yeah, that's a notification bell.
That's a notification bell. I'm going to jump right into the first slide that we have, Timmy. So, hey, everybody, what I want you to do is just take a second to look above my head and above Timmy's head, and you're going to see this is part of the actual budget that is proposed for 2024. And one of the things that will jump out at you is the little red line next to Keeler's face that says Keeler taking a 27.5% raise over $20,000. Now, I don't know about you, but I will tell you that I am angry. It bothers the hell out of me, and it makes me sick to think this guy, who's already got a $98,000 a year pension, $10,000 a month, would then go into the budget himself and put himself in for a raise of over 27%. And Timmy, that takes him from like 78,000 up to 99.5, almost $100,000 a year.
That's right.
Now, I don't begrudge anybody for taking raises, Tim, because everybody deserves a raise. Even though I think this guy will go down as the worst mayor the city's ever had. He's done nothing but screw everything up. Businesses are leaving. People are moving out. It's been a disaster. He doesn't clean up. The streets are a mess. The weeds are everywhere. I went downtown last night, Tim, and I'll tell you how sad it was. Two guys came up to me and said, "Hey, Shawn, how you doing?" I said, "I'm doing okay, man. Nice to talk to you." They go, "Hey, we were living over at Danny O's apartments across the street. They are absolutely gorgeous." He said, "Unfortunately, we're moving out of Cohoes because in the last 5 weeks, people are pissing on our cars. I come out and there's garbage on my truck. I don't even feel safe walking across the street anymore on a Friday night, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning." He goes, "I don't know what's happened to this city, but this guy's destroyed it." And that is the common thread that I hear from a lot of people. And to think the guy thinks he's worth a 27% raise just drives me insane, Tim.
$21,190 it works out to.
It's just insane. I just don't understand why this guy would think that he's entitled to me.
Well, I don't know
about you, but to me, it's a sweetheart deal, don't you think?
Yeah, look he lives in a bubble in his own little world up there in Western Avenue, 7 acres of land, a $500,000 house, $97,000 state pension, $78,000 city wages, okay, and now he needs to tack on another $21,000, okay. It's just insane. He's just out of touch with the average person in Cohoes that lives paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, he's out of touch, and he's not. Look, I don't begrudge anybody for having a great pension. Congratulations, he's deserved it. He put his life on the line. He was a state trooper. He worked his way up, or he got politically pushed up. One of the two. I'm going to think it's politically pushed up after I see how he handles the city as the mayor. He certainly isn't the stellar guy that I thought he would be in way of making vital decisions. I don't think he understands how to run a city. And it's clear by the disaster of our community. But to think that he knows how to run a budget where he can take 27.5% raises should make you sick. And it should make everybody mad.
If he did that with the state budget, what do you think they would have done?
He wasn't able to manipulate the state budget. Right. He told everybody he put together a $100 million
budget with
listen, I ran the county budget, and I know how the budgets are made, and they ain't made by you or me. They're made by a whole department of budget and finance.
Yeah.
And the example is the guy is destroying the city. He's spending money like it's crazy. giving himself raises that he doesn't deserve. If the guy took a 5 or 6% raise over 4 years, you know what I'd say? Fair enough. He's got a good pension. He deserves to have a pay raise. But to go and take $20,000, $21,000 a year, over $80,000 over 4 years, based on his record, is just a injustice at the highest level. It's greed. It isn't because he thinks he did a good job, because he knows he's not doing a good job. It is greed. The guy is greedy. It just reminds me of all the state legislators who snuck in just before Christmas and gave themselves a $32,000 raise. These people think that the money falls off trees and that these are the kings of the world and we should all bow down and kiss their ass and they should take as much as they want. Bullshit. Bullshit. They're greedy. They're greedy at the highest level. Everyone I talk to, even people that have good jobs, say, yeah, it's tough right now. It's really tough. Things cost a lot of money. I can't afford this. I cut back on that. So what does this guy say? Don't worry about the people that I represent who are paying my wages. I don't care if they're struggling. I'm going to take a little more of their money so I can take a $21,000 raise. He ought to be ashamed of himself. When he walks down the street, he should lift his head up every once in a while. Because I told you, he walks like Great Bape. He's got his knuckles dragging on the ground, never looks up. Look up and look the people in the eye and tell them you're taking $21,000 of their money. I think you're going to find out they're going to be very upset that you think you're entitled to that kind of money, especially after you're pissing away all of the millions of dollars that you're blowing and screwing up the city.
And it's a family plan, too.
Well, hey, Timmy, I'm glad you said that, but let me just jump into something.
Mayor Bill Keeler could soon have to do something he did not foresee. Find $600,000 or raise taxes.
We'll be spending at a minimum $600,000 a year.
How much of a tax increase could you be looking at for that $600,000?
So you're looking at 12, 13, 14%. Just to cover the $600,000, and then if they go with anything fancier,
so here he is
double that
on on the television, on the news channel, telling you as a citizen, oh my God, the ambulance is going to cost us $600,000. That's a 12, 13, 14% tax increase, just the ambulance alone. What are we going to do? How are we going to fix that? Then we find out it ends up being $800,000, $880 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And so then it's 200,000 more than he said on the news. So now you're talking about 18, 19%. And long and behold, the 24 budget has an increase of 25% up to $1 million, over $1 million for the ambulance that we used to pay zero for because they screwed it up so bad. They freaked this thing up so bad. The taxpayers got to come up with $1 million.
$1,080,000.
You think if you went on TV to say to the taxpayers, look, we're facing a 16, 18% tax increase, and then you go make the budget and give yourself $80,000 over 4 years, that's not brazen, that's not just a greedy man who could care less about what you're facing, long as he's making more money to pay his bills up in his $500,000, $750,000 house?
Yeah.
I mean, this is ridiculous to me. Yeah. And so if you look above, you'll see this is the EMS services. The green line is how much we paid, $861,000. The red line is what it's going to cost, $1 million, and the other green line at the end is 25.30%.
Yeah.
So we're facing an enormous amount of increase in spending with very little increase in revenues, and we'll talk about that on the show.
Yeah.
And he's got the balls to take a $20,000 raise, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I thought this was even a little more brazen because it just goes to show you that these people don't care about you, that they're greedy and they care about themselves, right? So the mayor of the city appointed one of his children, and I'm not going to say the name because I hear nothing but nice things about her. I'm sure she's a good girl. I'm sure she works hard. I'm sure she's entitled to and worth raises. But this is just another example of out of control monies that are being spent based on the Keeler Friends and Family program, right? So up on the top, you're going to see that there's a secretary, right? The secretary to the police chief. Secretary to the police chief, right? Police chief deserves to have a secretary. I'm not so sure how much they're worth. So I looked at the budget and I looked at all the secretaries and all the clerks that are all clumped into one spot. Clerks, secretaries, they're the same, just one civil service and union and one's not, right? And And you're going to find out that one of them just got 11.37% raise on top of the 10% raise she got 3 years ago. And that happens to be one of his children.
His daughter.
And his daughter now gets $64,750 to be the secretary. Okay?
To the
$64,750 with 11%, 37% raise this year. Now, let me just bring that into perspective for the people watching the show and yourself. If you just go down one, the secretary of the mayor is making what? You go all the way over to just under her, $64,750. You'll see that the secretary to the mayor makes $41,615.
Right.
Okay.
Secretary to the police chief, 64.
Happens to be his daughter, and she's making 64.
Right.
And I went through the budget and I looked at the clerks that are considered the same as a secretary in the sense, or it does the same type of work. They're all in the $45,000 range.
Right.
So everybody who works for the city that is a secretary is making the same amount of money, whether it was for the mayor, the fire chief, clerks, whatever it is, except
city
for
clerk
one.
Makes more than city clerk.
She's making more as a secretary than some of the, almost equal to some of the
people have been there for 20 years. Yeah.
20 and 30 years to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So put that into perspective of how much Mr. Keeler cares about you, and ask yourself, who does he really care about? Because he's taking care of him and one of his children, who deserves a raise, but certainly not 22% over 3 years, right? And becomes the highest paid secretary in the history of the city. History of the city.
Right.
Okay? History of the city. Underscore that. He becomes the highest paying mayor in the history of the city. His daughter becomes the highest paying secretary in the history of the city. All while the city people are struggling to put food on their table.
Paycheck to paycheck.
He's blowing money because he doesn't know how to manage the city's finances. And we're going to talk about that, and you're going to realize some years down the road, maybe 2 or 3 years down the road, you're going to be hit with taxes and cuts in services like you've never seen before. And it makes me sick. Everybody's entitled to a raise. These are not raises. These are greed. These are bank robberies.
First name?
A rabbit.
Last name?
The bank.
So you are robbing the bank.
He actually said why he's stealing these raises for him and giving outrageous raises to one of his family members. Combined, it's almost 40% raises, Timmy. Now, in this budget, they propose a 0% property tax increase. So how can you have, how can you have a 16% increase, then a 25% increase in the cost of the ambulance service, over $1 million of new monies, and you don't have to raise taxes? Well, here's how you do it, my friend.
You raise the piggy bank. Yep.
It's called smoke and mirrors, and it is the worst public accounting principle that you could ever do because it leads you to doomsday. And the city of Cohoes was already there once. He's going to put us back to the same spot when we were all struggling and they were cutting firemen and cutting cops, cutting DPW. And so here's the little game they play. So one of the things that you want to be able to do, Timmy, when you're really doing a good job is this. You want to have no tax increases. You want to have an increase in what's called the rainy day fund. Now, there's other names for it, but we're going to use the rainy day fund. People understand that is
unassigned,
the money,
technically.
That's right. That's
in the budget.
That's the money you put in your piggy bank in case there's a major problem, right? You have money when something happens that you weren't prepared for. Right. So you have to have 0% property tax, an increase in the rainy day fund, a decrease in the amount of money you used in the rainy day fund if you do use any. Okay. And you got to come under budget so you have monies that you can say, okay, we thought it was $1 million. It was only 800,000. I'm taking that 200 and I'm going to keep putting it in my bank account, my rainy day fund until I hit 20% of our total budget, because that's the golden goose. Now we know if we have $1 million water break, a fire truck breaks down, we have a major disaster. I don't have to say, oh my God, how are we going to pay? I'm not going to have to borrow money. I'm just going to be able to go to the piggy bank and use it.
And Shawn, for our listeners, okay, if they want to look this up in the budget, it's called the unassigned is the term they're using today. Go ahead. Jump back.
Can't find it in the budget, Timmy, right? I think you got to go and find it in the annual reports because they took it out of the budget. You know why? Because then you'd be able to find it. So the annual report on the page, there's budgets and annual reports. You go to the annual report, you look up the undesignated,
unassigned.
Unassigned. It's all the same terminology, and you'll find out. I left the city with $4.5 million, the most ever in the city's history. Mm-hmm. Now, when you look at it, it looks like they're down to about 3.5. So there's $1 million being stolen out of the piggy bank, right?
Right. Yep.
That's on top of them having all of this money that the government handed out for free that any mayor wished they would have had back when they were in office.
$3 million in COVID, $10 million prize we won for downtown revitalization.
Right. So all these monies, where are they? Why are you raiding the piggy bank? So if you look now, Timmy, in the little red square box that you put, it says above it says stabilization, tax stabilization fund, tax stabilization fund. You'll see it was $31,000. You know what a tax stabilization fund is, Timmy? That's when you know you don't have a lot of money in your income. So your revenues are coming in, but your expenses are far exceeding how much you have in, sales tax revenue, property tax revenue, other state and federal revenues. Okay. But you realize you don't have enough money to pay all your bills. So instead of going to rob your rainy day fund so people don't realize what you're doing, you create this thing called the tax stabilization fund. And really what they did is they either took money that was given to them by the COVID relief, or they took money from the rainy day fund and they slid it out of there. Right, and they put it into this tax stabilization. Oh, so when you read the budget, you go, oh, there's a fund in there with $6.64 million. Okay, no, we don't have to raise taxes because, we have this income. Not so fast, my friends. That's not income. That's money they stole out of the savings account, built this little smoke and mirrors account. And last year they spent $664,310 of one-shot revenue to fill budget gaps because they did not have enough money coming in to pay the bills going out. And the reason we call them one-shot wonders is because it's like any other bank account in your house. If you have $50 in your savings account and you take $50 out, chances are you don't have enough money to put the $50 back in. That's why you were using your savings. You didn't have enough income, revenue, right? So we're stealing $664,000. If that's not bad enough, you go over to the last box that's in red, and it's $1,126,400. They're robbing the tax stabilization fund again by putting $1,126,400 in that account. Where'd they get that money? Did they take it from and you won't know till the next report comes up, but did they take more money out of the rainy day fund?
COVID money, maybe?
One shot one? It has to be. It either has to come out of the rainy day fund or it's coming out of the COVID money.
Yeah, they're using the COVID money not only for that, but probably for ambulance too.
You got it. There's $1.126 million. Plus you just seen in the ambulance slide, it's $1 million this year.
Yeah.
So here's the basic principle. Here's the basic math. You have all of these bills that need to be paid. You have your paycheck coming in to give you all the money to pay the bills. And that's called a balanced budget in your house, right? $50,000 a year you make, $40,000 a year in bills, leaves you $5,000 to put into your savings account, $5,000 to have some freaking beer and food with your family, go to the movies or do something, right? City's no different, my friend. But here's the problem. City's got bills going out, they have monies coming in, and they don't have enough to pay it. So they go to this tax stabilization fund so they can do smoke and mirrors and they can tell you how great of a job they're doing. They don't have to raise your taxes. There's no water and sewer increases. I am the gift of God. Look what I'm doing for your city. All while he's doing it, he's stealing the money out of your piggy bank. And guess what happens when the piggy bank runs dry? The bills don't go away, Tim.
Yep, they don't. So
only the money.
Services are going to go down. Personnel are going to go down.
There's no other way because now you just
taxes
robbed your piggy bank. And then you know what else happens, Tim? The cost of borrowing money goes up because you're not as stable in your finances.
Yep.
Your ratings could go down by the comptroller because you don't have as much in your savings account that you should.
Yep.
So everything that's being done is being done secretly, sneakily. Is that a word? Sneakily?
Well, you just coined it.
Well, all right. I just coined a new
Sneakily.
word. It is
Right.
sneakily.
Sneakily.
He's sneaking behind your back, telling you how great of a job he's doing, telling you that he doesn't have to raise taxes because it's another election year. And all while he's doing this, he's picking your pockets,
Right.
and he's taking away the savings account that will lead to a day in the near future where we're broke, where we have big bills, and we don't have enough money to pay them, and we don't have no money stuffed in the cookie jar to cover it and hide the fact that we're in debt. And the city's taxpayers are going to get smacked upside the head. And boy, if that doesn't wake them up, something's wrong, because it is coming, and it's going to come like a tsunami.
Yeah.
And this is a sad day for the city Cohoes to watch this guy.
It's going to crash, Sean. It's inevitable. We even predicted that when we saw what he did with the LED lights. But keep on going on.
Yeah. But hey, Timmy, just think of this though, right? So now you're stealing from the rainy day fund because you don't have enough money to pay your bills. And you give yourself a 27% raise, $80,000 raise.
Yeah.
And then you go hand your daughter a 12% raise.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just somehow walk down the street. And then people say to me, how come the guy never looks up? He's always looking down at the ground. Because people that look up have confidence. People that look at the ground realizing they're doing something sneaky. So next time you see him walking, see if he's looking in your eyeballs or if he's looking at his feet.
Well, he's the only mayor that needed a teleprompter for the state of the city. I mean, $500 bill just for that. He just spends money because it's not his money. Randy labeled the guy as the stingiest guy he knew when Randy was running his last campaign, okay? But anyway.
Look, I think the problem for everybody watching the show today and the people who are listening to the show is that they're struggling. Their city's not, on a rocket going up. It's kind of coming down now. Poor management, poor decisions, and lack of care. No Cohoes proud, right? And they're struggling. And every one of them pay the bill for this city. And this city has bills now that they can't pay without stealing money out of the savings account. And when the savings account runs dry, these people are in deep shit. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't care. He's still willing to feed his pockets another $80,000. He doesn't care. And he takes care of his daughter because he doesn't care. She's entitled to a 2 or 3% raise. Yes, she is.
Yeah.
She's not entitled to 11.65. She's not entitled to be the highest paid secretary in the city because the only reason it's happening is because it's his daughter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And unfortunately, people should realize that, and they should be upset with that.
Look at that. And just to top it off, Sean, look at the common council members, typically who put in the budget a raise for the future incoming common council, not a single penny for those people.
Well, some of it's because they're pissed off and they lost.
Yeah.
And others is because it's a political year. See, these clowns think that they're going to get voted out of office because they give themselves a 3% raise.
Yeah.
They don't think they'll get voted out of office because they spent $1 million of wasted money on an ambulance, because they don't clean up the streets, because they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars extra every year on lights that they promised would save the city from any financial wounds. They don't think any of that stuff matters, right? All the shit that they do and fail at, they think is okay. But if they give themselves a 3% raise, oh my God, we may lose our seats. Half of them are leaving. Half of them just voted, will vote to give these raises, I should say. They voted for the ambulance. They don't care.
It's not their money.
It's not their money. And guess what? And they'll walk away and nobody will ever see them again. Mm-hmm. That's the problem.
Yeah. Well, Chris Briggs, he's the king of raising property taxes, both in the school district and now in the common council. The tax king. Okay.
Yeah, he likes to raise your taxes.
He does.
And now, Timmy, above in this screen is the street lights. We've talked about these street lights 3 times. And the only reason I keep bringing them up is because every time this guy talks about the city spending and wasting money, he tries to convince you that he's going back to this $9 million savings that he's going to have in street lights. So I'll break it down one more time for people who are watching the podcast because you're being bullshitted. What's the word that I made up? I can't even remember.
Sneakily.
Oh, yeah, he's being sneakily. And I want you to know that you're being bullshitted. So let's break this down. You're going to see the first line in red. Atop it says actual, and then on the bottom, $457,000. I'll just leave it. I'll round it up to that number, right? $457. You know what that is? That was the actual cost that we paid every year for streetlights.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
It's a National Grid.
It's a lot of money, but that's what it costs, right?
National Grid, yep.
Right. So this guy says, I have an idea. I'm going to change out every street light to LED. I'm going to buy the lights. We're going to save $9 million because the cost that we save in the actual electricity will be far greater than the cost of the $400 or $400,000 a year that I have to pay, because it's going to cost us $6 million to buy all these lights, replace them all, and then own the lights themselves.
1,596 lights.
So this, how many?
1,596.
So now the city of Cohoes owns all those lights.
We own them. We
And
didn't own the
for
ones
maintenance, right?
And the ones from National Grid we did not own. When they failed, National Grid took care of it.
Correct. So now we used to pay $457,000. It's kind of like a lease. We leased the lights. We paid the electricity. They fixed every light bulb. They fixed every broken pole. They fixed all of the problems, and we just paid the bill.
All we did is pay the electricity, the cost to run those lights.
So now he goes out and borrows, and he puts you, well, not you and me, because we'll be dead before that, or maybe not dead, but we'll be pissing our pants in some kind of nursing home, I imagine, in 25, 30 years. But our kids, our grandkids, as he would like to say, he sold out their future for these light bulbs because he borrowed $6 million.
Yes.
$6 million is $400,000 a year payment
over 20 years.
20 years, so it's $800,000 with taxes or interest. Yeah. So he borrowed $8 million at the end of this 20 years to replace all these lights. He's promised everybody, and you can look it up and find it yourself. Right. It's in the newspaper. You could Google it.
Lower electric bills, yep.
He said he'll lower the electric bills so that the amount that he pays for the $6 million is even, and then we'll make money because we're going to generate more electricity, and we're actually going to see a $9 million savings over 20 years. Okay, so we just seen $457,000 was the cost prior. The next box over, Timmy, under streetlights, it's a little blue box, $343,362. That is how much in 2022 we paid, right?
Yeah.
And when you take 300, I'm not looking. I wasn't the math wizard, okay, but when you take 343,000. And then you add it to 400,000, which is the cost of the lights now, plus the cost of the loan that was supposed to wipe out the cost of the lights and make it a zero. Yeah. When you add those two things together, you had almost $750,000 it cost us for the lights in 2022. All right, give the guy a little credit. All the lights weren't in yet. All the work wasn't done. But you still you got to add that money to the long haul because you're still paying.
Right.
So you still paid almost $750,000 for the lights that once cost $450,000. So let's say you lost $300,000 that year. We're going to go over to the original budget in 2023. There's no mark next to it, but you see $200,000.
That's what they budgeted.
And then you go to the next
year.
line that has a a gold box around it. And that says adjusted budget. What that means is that's how much they paid for the lights that year. So now when you take $400 for the cost of the loan to replace all the light bulbs and buy the poles or whatever the hell comes along with it, and you take the $200,000 you paid for the electric, you now have $600,000. So you just paid $600,000 for lights that you used to pay $450,000 for. So there's another $150,000 loss, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, actuality, when you see the actual, but the year is not over, They paid $137,000 so far. I have a feeling that it will be over the $200,000.
Well, what'll happen is we're going to have longer days because the winter approaching, so we have more dark. Okay, so they'll be on more.
Well, they'll be on more, but I think they were probably on more in the same amount in 2023 as well. So, but you're right. It's still not dark time yet, so they'll be on longer from the period that hasn't reported.
Yeah.
So I imagine there'll be more than 200,000. The moral of the story is so far we've lost about $600,000, right, by his brilliant move to replace these lights with shitty light bulbs that burn out and will cost us a fortune.
Right in front of my house, Shawn, is pole number 5. Okay, that light has failed, 6 months ago. They came out and they replaced it with a new one under warranty, and it failed again. And it's been a month, more than a month, that I reported that light is out, and they still have not come on out and replaced or repaired that light. That's the service we're getting under warranty.
Yeah, and that's under warranty. I'm going to give you a great example. When I took office, one of the things I said is when you drive into the city of Cohoes, it should be a beautiful gateway from every angle, right? So if you come over the 112th Street Bridge, there should be beautiful flowers. There should be flags that say welcome to Cohoes. There should be a welcome sign. And all the lights should be lit.
Yes.
So I did all that. And I brought in a company because you got to have somebody who knows how to work on those type of lights. It's not just electrician, right? Somebody who works on those big lights and those poles. We brought somebody in. We lit up all of the lights from our part, which is about the middle of 112th Street. And you would drive to Cohoes, and there's flags on there that said historical Cohoes, welcome to Cohoes, beautiful flowers. It looked beautiful. But those lights kept burning out. Every 3 or 4 months, another light would burn out. Another light, another light. Yeah. 140, 150, 160,000 or 140, 150 dollars just for the light bulbs, and then another 152. So it was costing about $300 every time the guy came to replace a bulb. Okay, that was a lot of money. That was just about 18 or 20 bulbs. But they kept blowing out. The guy said to me, Shawn, I don't care what anybody tells you. I've been doing this my whole life. These bulbs burn out. They don't stay as long as they tell you. And sometimes they don't shut off and they stay in, powered. So they have to be replaced because they burn out too fast.
Because the sensors don't ship.
Yes, there's all kinds of issues with these bulbs. And one of the things that they don't do is save you a fortune. They may save you a little. But again, I know that they cost a lot of money. So they came to me and said, hey, we want you to replace all the bulbs. And I said, I'm not doing it. Cohoes ain't spending $6 million on something that you could tell me is going to save us money. In the end, I know it's not. I'm not stupid. I know this is just somebody's getting rich. It's another political bullshit. And, the city of Cohoes has more pressing issues. If we had a lot of money, it was a luxury. I think about it, but we have a lot of necessities, and light bulbs ain't one of them. So just taking you over to the very last line, you'll see the red arrow says 24 requested, right? Yep. Go down, blue box surrounding the number 200,000. So again, in 2024, they project at least 200,000 for the light bulbs to be energized, which is called electricity, and 400,000 for the bond, which is 600,000. Another loss of about 150. So now we're losing 150,000 every year on light bulbs. We're spending $1 million on an ambulance that used to be free. We have all kinds of other money being pissed out the window. Shit's not getting done. Crime is running rampant. People want to move off of Ransom Street. Okay. Yeah. And he's taking a 27% raise, $80,000 for himself, and giving a huge raise to his daughter. Yeah. And I went through that budget, Timmy. A lot of people are getting 1.75, 1.95, 2%. He should take, and everybody should get, the same amount.
Yeah. But he did take care of Chief 5, though, for his stance on ambulance with a 4.04% raise.
Yeah, here's the old cliche. There's an old cliche, Timmy, that says whatever the unions get, the department heads get. And I'm okay with that. Mm-hmm. So if the unions got, a 4% raise and there was retro, you had to go back 2 years and they gave it to him, so be it. Mm-hmm. 4% based on the union's raise is what they should be doing. But the unions got 2. The cops got 2. The mayor gets 27. Mm-hmm. His daughter gets a bigger raise than the cops. I think she's actually making more money than some of the cops.
That's possible. Yeah.
I know she's making more than some of the firemen.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's unfair. It's greed. And when you see the guy, look at him, because there is a spitting image of a greedy man who already makes an enormous amount of money off taxpayers in his pension that he deserves. I'm not saying that. But then when he's making the budget, he should be able to say, look, I'm already getting $100,000 a year if I don't even go to work ever again. And I'm getting $78,000, almost $80,000 a year. I'll just raise mine to 2%, make $80,000 a year on top of my 100, and that's $180,000 a year. I should be able to live comfortably when the people who are paying my freight can't even buy bread. Well, that's what he should be thinking. Right. That's what a good man who's Cohoes proud thinks.
Yeah, well, it's very difficult in Cohoes to live on a near $200,000 a year budget. Yeah. Okay, that's his home budget, $200,000. That's him alone. And I don't know if he has a wife that's working as well. But the bottom line is $200,000 in his pocket. That doesn't include benefits and everything else. Okay, it's insane that you would have someone earning that kind of money in the city that's asking for more money from the taxpayers.
I agree. I don't think it's insane that you work your life and you work really hard, and you work your life to get to the top, and you get a big pension. I don't care if a guy makes 200, 300, 400, 500. God bless you for being able to do that. You worked hard. You got to where you needed to get. But how about this? How about when you are a public servant and you're already making almost 100 or 200,000 a year? You don't be so greedy to try to snatch up, more money from them, because they're hurting, dude. Yeah. Mayor Keeler, they're hurting. People are hurting. You're not doing the greatest job for your city. The city is not thriving right now. I haven't seen no private investment. I see you taking $10 million in monies and you're using it for governmental projects. You're doing things that in the end will just, never pan out for the betterment of the city. And yet you're taking the money. If you think you're the best mayor the city's ever had, you think you're doing a great job, God bless you. I'd say you're blind. Here you go. If you need these, you need some glasses, I'll give them to you. But even if you think you're doing the best, you have to have some kind of heart, some kind of couth, some kind of respect for the people paying the bill, and not try to gouge them for a 27% raise.
$21,190 more money, okay, to get him up to $99,500. Okay, it's look, if you had a mayor that was that you did it incrementally, okay, over a period of time, you could probably get there to a living wage. But he's trying to do it all in one fell swoop with his fake stabilization project, so that he could say, hey, I deserve it because we're not raising taxes, water fees or sewer fees. So we're that good, I can justify giving myself. But it's really smoke and mirrors. We're going to be paying for that down the road.
Oh, they're going to be paying.
No doubt.
You and I are doing a podcast using the best information we have. That's not our information. That's theirs. We're just sharing it, right?
That's right.
He goes on TV and tells you they're 14% increase. The ambulance itself is a 14% increase because they don't have that kind of money, right?
Right. So he gives himself a 27%.
So he gives himself a 27% raise, knowing that he's got to steal money out of his empty to be soon piggy bank.
Yeah.
And we're really going to be in trouble. But guess what, Timmy? He won't care, because it will be 3 or 4 years before everybody gets hit in the face with that terrible deal that he's doing today. It takes a little while for it to catch up.
That's right. And he'll perish.
So he'll be gone. He'll be living large, up in his beautiful home, and he deserves it. I know he worked hard, but he won't have to worry about the effects of that. No. Because he'll still be making $100,000 a year pension.
Yeah.
And you and I, who live paycheck to paycheck, will have to figure out how to pay this enormous amount of money for his failures. Why he enjoyed an $80,000 and I don't even know if he's going to spend it. Maybe he's just going to take it and stick it in his piggy bank. But you and I are going to have to figure out how to get it out. And I dread the day that happens. But hey, listen, my piggy bank's drying up. Timmy's piggy bank's drying up. And I'm out of here, because every time I talk about this raise, it makes me sick. So, hey, Timmy, it was good to see you.
That's right. 26, number 26 is
Appreciate
done.
number 26. It's always fun to see you and do the podcast and tell everybody the truth that's going on. I know some people don't want to hear it. Some people do want to hear it.
Yep.
But those who love us, those who hate us, subscribe to our podcast. Keep joining it. And we'll be back next week to give you an update on the ambulance because they presented the findings for the ambulance. And I think you'll find no surprise in that.
Okie doke.
Talk
Thank
this
you.
through, Jimmy.
Take
I'll
care.
see you,
Bye now.
buddy. You be good.